The following podcast may have been recorded on the AT-875R.
I'm Casey Hott, and you're listening to Troy Holden on the VO Life.
Hey, Troy Holden, back with you on the VO Life. Hope everybody's doing great. Oh, man, has it been a I don't know, what do we call it? A whirlwind, waves up and down. We talked about it on another VO podcast this week. Alden and I did. Jake and Charles were nowhere to be found. Jake was on the beach in Florida, and Charles was busy. But Alden and I were talking about some of these things. And the funny thing is, JMC puts out a great blog today about, who moved the VO cheese, etc. And I had just written a thing about being data-driven in your business, how the data never lies. So I had to go ahead and pay him credit in the front of that blog. But I know a lot of you guys don't read blogs. So I said, hey, let's flip this over and put it out in the podcast just in case you miss it, because I think this is important stuff. We're in a time in VO where there's a lot of complaining going on about the pay-to-plays. There's complaining going on about this and that. And, it's really coming down to, I think, that there's some weeding out going on. And people are going to have to make a choice depending on how busy they are and how dedicated they are and how successful they are, if they're going to keep doing this or if they're going to revert it back to a hobby and part-time. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's how it works, it could happen to me in a year. I don't know. But what I want to do is give you some information that may help you transition through this and all such as that. And I'm going to read a lot of this right off the blog that I wrote because I want to get all those points across. First, let me say that, I'm doing what I'm doing and progressing because I don't want to be that statistic next year if possible. And JMC hit a very big truth of people in a certain group of people and age bracket that have a certain voice. I'm in the age bracket, but I don't have the voice. I want to give you my guy in the trenches opinion from a niche voice opinion who is doing some things a little differently and why and how it could work for you. It may or may not. It's just like my dad used to say, it's like armpits and buttholes. Everybody's got them. Opinions. Okay, here we go. I have absolutely ridden a lot of change. And let me start that by saying yesterday I did my 500th order on Fiverr. The first 350, 400 were not that great. There were some good ones mixed in there, but these last 100 plus have been good work, good business. Not ashamed of any of it. But there's 300 or 400 orders in there that, it was junk. A lot of it was junk, but I didn't know any better. But anyway, 500 orders. I guess that's a notch. I don't know. But I've seen a lot of changes going through that and going through other things. And by being a niche Southern accented voice who is not really hillbilly Southern accent, I'm more business narration, Southern accent, I think. Cause, if I really wanted to talk like I was from the mountains, I could. I could really turn it on if you need me to. But that's not how I naturally speak. That's a character. But what I'm getting at is I don't book in the general commercial big job arena. Yes, I have booked national and regional a few times. I was one of many voices in the ESPN Topgolf Super Bowl ad a little over a year ago. I was the announcer who comes on the front and says stuff about, oh, crap, now we got a new champion. What are we going to do now? Like he's worried. We're out of work. What are we going to do? And they all go up on the roof and hit golf balls and talk about going to Topgolf. And once I said my two little sentences, I was done. But that was a big deal to me because I don't know who all auditioned for that. I have no clue. but it was a pretty decent size exposure job, but people will not likely recognize my voice in that because I was doing that announcer voice, but they may. Big deal. Who cares? I've done Yellowwood, but it was only a handful of words. I've done regional stuff that was a handful of words. I get booked a lot when they're doing multiple voices because my voice sounds different, right? It's unique. It's me. So I get booked for a lot of that stuff where I may only say a couple of words. And I think on Yellowwood, I said something like, absolutely. And I said something else, but I don't remember what it was. It's been a couple of years. But bread and butter for me is this year in tracking. And let me go back and say, data does not lie. Track your work. Put it in a spreadsheet, put columns across the top that say commercial, corporate narration, YouTube narration, in-show narration, documentary narration, automotive, political. Put everything in there that you are doing or you've ever booked, and just put a 1 in the column and then a 1 in the next column. And then at the bottom, it'll add those up for you. And you can see how many have I done in those genres. If you have that wonderful software that Danny States has, Voice Overview, you can, if you will be diligent and put everything in there, it'll do that for you, which is wonderful. I used to use it. I stopped. I went to a spreadsheet, not for really any reason. Okay, there is a reason. I was too freaking lazy to put it all in there. Okay, but that's a good way to do it. All right, so what I'm getting at is you figure out what you're booking. Okay, so I have learned that it wasn't what I thought it was at times, but my bread and butter, if I talk about where I get the most of my work, is documentary, in-show, streaming channels you've probably never heard of. This is outdoor shows mainly, and I think there are 5 different ones. The commercial stuff that I get, but a lot of that is usually, like I said, bit parts or in a character voice. Not very much in my normal natural voice. IVR, video games, huge for me. Not video games probably many people know about. I've had NDAs several times, and still when the game came out, I still didn't know what it was. Never heard of it. But I'm not a gamer either. But I promise you, if it was a big name, I always tell my son, he goes, I don't know what that is. So, VO work for me comes mainly, as it should, in my natural or in my older voice, when I just drop my register a little bit and sound just a little bit older and a little bit more folksy, and character voices. And when I say character voices, it's not me doing Bugs Bunny. It is me doing characters I have made up based on coaching. And I give full credit to Mark Ryder for that. He equipped me and taught me how to lean into the field of characters I related to and develop my character, name that character, and know quickly how to pull that character, how to execute them in an audition. And that taught me, all of that has taught me in the last 3 to 4 years to target market, target audition, and stop wasting time on things that I will never book. And that's when my business got better. Better meaning same or more money, way less time invested. Instead of being in here 10 hours a day, I'm in here 4 hours a day, and I'm making way more money than I did the first full-time year and the second full-time year. January, February, March this year was way ahead of last year. April was terrible. Worst month I've had in 2 years. May's been pretty good. Pretty darn good. It's around the 23rd. Got another week or so to go. We're going to be fine. We're going to have a month to where I go, yep, we're okay. But like everybody else, I see things and I worry about some things. I see some slowdowns, some changes. I see people taking a little longer to pay than they were. My regulars that might have paid me in 3 to 5 days, sometimes now they're waiting a couple weeks. It's okay. They're paying, but things are changing, and I pay attention to all that. All right, so rolling back to data, my data pointed me to you never book B2B type stuff, tech stuff that's, in Massachusetts, Maryland, New York, New Jersey, unless it's a charactery silly thing, New Jersey, I might. But I got even busier booking on pay to play because my ratios went up. My auditions were not rushed. I had time to do them well versus I got to do 25 today. I got to get through all these. There's no use in me auditioning for something I know I'm not going to book. They hear way more twang in my voice than I hear. I can read it and I say, that sounds pretty good. That's very business sounding. There's nothing wrong with that. It is. It's great for Georgia and Alabama and Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana maybe, Florida sometimes, East Coast, North, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Utah, Wyoming sometimes. But the Midwest or the upper middle part of the country over to the East Coast, they don't like it. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. There's plenty of other really good neutral Gen Am voices they can book. But when I decided or made the decision, it's a waste of time, I opened up a ton of hours in my schedule. All of that time I spent auditioning, playing it back. I do the auditions, I go back and do the editing, cut the files up, get them dropped in, hurry, try to get them in. And most of the time they wouldn't even get listened to. So when I decided I will only audition for what fits me, and I even reached out to my agents and told them, and I had to ask them, do I need to reply to the audition that I'm not going to audition? Because most of the time, unless they're really in my ballpark, I don't want to waste my time or yours. And the 3 out of the 5 said, yeah, no problem. I have one that puts a button on there and you push if you're going to do the audition or not. And then the other one only sends me stuff I should get. So, but the other 3 said, no, that's fine. Not a problem. And it took stress off because I don't need to try and do something I am not great at. I need to be great when I send that in. I can't be mediocre or taking a shot. It has to be spot on. So now I focus everything targeted. That is my theme, targeted. I've pulled the numbers. The data doesn't lie. I've already booked more on pay to play this year than I did all of last year. My average per job went up 150%. That's a lot. I'm getting paid more. I've got booked more, which means more income, but I'm auditioning probably 75% less. So as I said, what am I booking? Outdoor equipment stuff, mowers, bobcats, weed eaters, outdoor companies, that sell this stuff. In what ways? Commercial, corporate narration, IVR, and telephony. What comes in second? Video games. 8 video games this year. That's a lot. Where am I booking most of those? Voices.com. Most. 2 were booked direct off previous work from Voice 123, and they are now a direct client. So that's not bad. And I'm going to come back to video games in a minute. When I look at clients on there, on my base and on my spreadsheet, I'm very consistent with video narration in the religious sector. I even broke it down into that. And I say that to say this. I have 3 clients that are religious based, and some do like a factual type thing where they're talking about facts of the Bible, maybe. Another one does like a morning devotional type thing, a nice, quiet, calm morning devotional thing. And the other one is podcast related. So, and I'm talking about consistently every week. There's something from all 3 of those. I'm also consistent with, in the construction sector, narrating for a company that talks about being in business for yourself and having, how you can use a pickup truck to make more money, how you can start your landscape business, how you can start your concrete finishing business. I've been with these people for almost 3 years, and they'll have times now and then where they'll stop, but they'll always start right back up. And it may not be a huge amount for me per month, but it's in my base, and it's something that I feel like I could expand on. And that's where we're going to get here in a minute. We're getting there. I also see, like I said, on I mentioned the outdoor narration in show for hunting and fishing that I do. That's pretty consistent. And then radio imaging, all for classic country stations. If you're not totally familiar with that, classic country is, stuff 80s and 90s music. They don't play much, if any, of anything current. It's the music that a lot of us feel made country such a super strong genre. The Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, Dwight Yoakam era, Hank Jr., all that stuff. So then I circle back with all of this information and I say, so I don't want to waste time chasing what I'm not booking. Where do I want to invest more into, and how do I want to invest it, and what's going to be my plan? My job is to pivot and capitalize on my strengths, or strengths is the proper way. You can say it either way. So let me walk through these real quick. Video games. Never had one coaching session in my life for a video game. I took 2 classes. I took one at VO Atlanta with Dave Fenoy, and it was on efforts, mainly on efforts. But we did get to do a full read in there, and I did really well with my read. Actually, he stood up and clapped for me, and I was blown away. And he and I both remember that. 2 years later at VO Atlanta, we talked about it again, and he thought I was putting on the accent. He didn't know till later, and I thought that was awesome. But I have not put effort into that. I have a quote-unquote demo. It's not very good. It's got a couple of actual jobs on it, but the rest of it really didn't sound like video game stuff I've been doing. So I went back the past couple of weeks, made some new samples. It sounds better. I may need to go get something put together by someone else. I don't know yet. But I am going to set a course to coach in the video game realm this year. Can I go to the next level in that? I'm doing pretty good at the level I'm at. So this kind of jumps off the page at me that I apparently have some natural ability, or I couldn't book it. And there's apparently a need for what I can do with my voice, my natural voice, and my characters. And I enjoy it. So that will be a focus. That now goes on my sheet that I'm saying for my business to escalate. I'm already booking video games. I need to up the video game. All right? Outdoor narration. And I'm calling it outdoor narration. It's really more documentary narration, but it's not exactly, it could be in show because I am speaking in between things sometimes. So maybe we call it outdoor in show narration. I do between 3 and 5 different shows on one channel, one client. I auditioned for 2 pretty major shows last year. They were replacing an iconic voice, and they wanted someone as close to him as possible, and I was not in his class, timbre of voice. I was not a match. But he recommended me, so they gave me the opportunity, and they did give me good feedback that your style and storytelling ability was absolutely point on, but we really want to get as close as we can to his voice timbre so fans of the show don't really hear a lot of change. And I understood that. I was okay with that. And I did appreciate the opportunity and appreciated the feedback. I do believe I could go coach in that genre and turn the heat up on that and start reaching out to more agents that do that type of stuff because I love it and I think I'm pretty good at it, but I need to be trained more. So that goes down as number 2. The other thing I talked about earlier, outdoor equipment. I think that's an easy one for me. It's a good fit. I used to have a real estate company. I did all my own upkeep on the rental properties. As far as keeping the yards cut and doing the upkeep, I kind of understand the hands-on blue-collar work. I have been booking regionally for stores and chains in the South and Southwest and even on the Southeast coast. Like I said earlier, Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Carolinas, Mississippi, and then the odd Utah, Idaho, Wyoming thing here and there. But Texas is a great market for me. Now, this has been sporadic, but it ranks high enough that I say this is number 3 in targeted marketing. This is where I should target, this genre. Now, that one's going to go into a subcategory because do you think there's just production houses that do just outdoor equipment? Not likely. So maybe I reverse psychology this one and I go to the larger chains because like even here around me, there's a company called Tri-Green Equipment. They have a lot of stores. Maybe I go to them and ask, who produces your spots? Who does your advertising for you? And then go to them, maybe. But you can always do it that way. You can reverse market. The next one I want to talk about quickly is automotive. And this one hurts my feelings. Because I came out of the gate with a demo and came out stout in this genre and hit the ground running and was booking. And then it was like I hit a wall. And the marketing side, it was, you're on our roster. And as soon as somebody's looking for a new voice, or I would hear, we have some clients, they just use random voices here and there. But what I kept running into as time marched on is it became a price thing. And I was really set in a certain price arena because it's what I talked to people about early on. And then the market changed. And I think the production houses and the dealerships caught on that, hey, we only run these ads for a week or two. And most of this stuff's based on 13 weeks. And they were saying, we shouldn't have to pay as much because it doesn't run as long. And it's happened. So I am re-gearing my marketing for that. I'm going back to some old clients. I'm going back with the with my head down because I don't like lowering the price. But I kind of get what's going on. I've talked to people in the industry and it is happening. So I've got to do that because I really love the industry. I worked in the automotive industry for 30 years almost, not in retail, but in manufacturing. And it's just something I'm close to. Lastly, let's real quickly mention political because, hey, the demo's done, the marketing's in gear. I've booked a few. I feel like that's going to pick up more over the next couple of months, especially as we get into June, July. I think it's really going to get heavy. We're not even seeing a lot on television yet and not hearing a lot on the radio yet, but it won't be long. It can't be. So that one, I think I've set the table for it. I've just got to see if it comes to fruition. And we'll see. But in all of this, in every bit of this, every one of those things I outlined, I have to take time to plan the attack, understand what the investment needs to be, how can I do that, and then the months that I am able, and it makes sense, is to knock these out one at a time. I can't get them all at once. One of the things I'm learning this year is make an effort and concentrate on something and be targeted And then when it's time to go the next thing, go the next thing. Do not freak out if you set a goal of I'm doing X number of reach outs on Tuesday. You don't get any done because you were too busy on other stuff. That's okay. We'll do it tomorrow. That's okay. We'll do some stuff this weekend and set them up for, going out the next week. I have got to not over goal and over target things, because now that I'm working and busy and I'm trying to take the free time I need to take for my mental self, I don't want to overload myself again. So by narrowing this down into these few things that I think I need to really pay attention to, I think it'll be easier. I totally want to say again, I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate the blog that J. Michael put out. And I want to remind you of something he said in there. If you didn't read this, you must spend a little money to get in front of the right people. Certain workshops can really help you if you are far along. If you're new at this, you don't need to go to a workshop that has agents in it. Let the people that have been doing this a few years who are ready to sign with those agents, let them do those workshops. And I have signed with an agent through a workshop this year. I have also established a really good relationship with another one through a workshop this year. Haven't signed with them, but we have a relationship where we're able, I'm able to email them now and then. They've listened to my demos. They've looked at my website. They've given me some good advice. They have told me to keep in touch, and I will. And gaining a New York agency from that workshop earlier this year was fantastic, and I absolutely love the relationship with that agent. They send me stuff specifically that I would want to audition for. It's handpicked, as it should be. I heard on a podcast this past week, if your agent is not doing things to help you, they are not your agent. It kind of makes sense. So I feel like I'm in a good position right now with that. I think I've got representation in some good areas. Is there others I'd like to have eventually? Yes, but right now that's not on my radar. Would I like to have more at bats, more stuff? Sure I would, but there's not that much in my wheelhouse. So I take what I get, and I'm not worried about it. And most of them know too, if they get something announcery, ESPN thing, announcer, or, this sports store looking for an announcer type voice, I get those as well. So I appreciate that because I am able to flip that switch. But I have just learned if I'm not cut out for it, don't waste my time. Think about this too, and I actually left an agency a few weeks ago. There were two things going on. I was not seeing anything, and I didn't understand it. And when I emailed about it, oh, your email was messed up. We'll get that fixed. You should start seeing everything now. 6-8 weeks later, still hadn't seen anything. Reached out again. They said, well, these 10 auditions were put out there. You should have got them. I didn't get anything. And I'm not saying there wasn't a system glitch. I'm just saying, there wasn't really a much of an effort made to make sure I got them. Nobody emailed the next time one went out and said, hey, I want to make sure you got this, because you had to go to a certain website to see them. It was theirs. It was their page or their thing. And, I didn't see anything. And I was not being a jerk, and I was very nice in the email, and they were nice too. And I said, I'm really sorry about this. I was hoping it'd work out. You guys are fairly close to me, and da-da-da-da-da. And, I said, but I'm not seeing anything, and, I just don't want to waste your time, and it was the right thing to do. And I think if you're smart enough to walk away from stuff like that, you should. And I learned in another workshop this year about a genre that I was not cut out for. And that's helpful too, because it made me smart enough to walk away from it and quit thinking, I know I could do that. I just know I could. No, you probably can't. So you're out. Hey, this business is hard. There's a lot of hard truths, like investing in yourself and investing wisely. And, I say this all the time. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. And they have to know your strengths and abilities and you've got to cultivate relationships. You've got to not be a jerk or a dick or whatever. And you also need to give back to those who have not been through what you have. I think it's great to share. I think it's good to be transparent. Some people don't like to do that. And I'm trying not to be a complainer or moaner. I have my tough weeks. I have bad times, but I don't want to blame anybody for that because I am the captain of this ship and I just have to suck it up and work harder. And I have to work harder than some other people because I have this obstacle called I can't do Gen Am. And, well, I thought you were training with somebody for that to help. And it did help. I even pronounce words differently now because of that. And I think it makes me a better Southern accent voiceover because I'm not as hicky as I was before. And some people go, really? It was worse? Yeah, it was. But there's a reason I work hard at this. I never, ever, ever want to go back to the corporate management rat race ever again. This little thing I've built is mine. And as it says in the blog, I'm the CEO, marketing director, creative talent, social media coordinator, audio engineer, office manager, studio manager, video editor, accounting supervisor, admin assistant, a lot more, probably, secretary, cook, janitor. It's a one-man show. I don't have anybody that helps me do anything. I'm not saying you shouldn't have an admin assistant. I'm not saying you shouldn't have help. I'm just saying I don't because I feel like I can manage it. And if I ever get busy to where I can't, I'll hire help. I will. I'll get help. You know, it's like I said, it's a one-man show, and sometimes it's, lack of a better term, it's a shit show, but it's my show. And it's both on me when it's not going great, but it's also all about me when it is. And this is my own little private roller coaster, and I get to decide whether to go faster, to slow down, to stop at the top of the hill for a while and enjoy it, or to go down to the bottom of the hill and the roller coaster not quite have enough to get up the next hill and it kind of swells back down in the bottom for a while. It happens. But remember, we all have the same goal and aspirations. We all want to book the big job. We all want to do our best. We all want to have good clients. But we also have to realize it is a very hard hustle juggling all these balls at once and trying to remain calm and collected. And that's why I always say there's no reason for us not to help each other because at the end of the day, somebody is going to make a very subjective decision to choose a voice that most of the time is not us. Not me, not you, someone else. But when it is you or me, it is the best feeling in the world to know that all that work paid off, that you nailed that read, that they love what they heard, and it felt great. So whether you're in this full time and it is your living and has been for a long time and you love it, or whether you're brand new and you're infatuated with it and it's just going to be a hobby, that's okay. When things ain't cranking, admit it. It's okay. If you need help, ask. If you hit a wall, put it in reverse, back up, and try again. How you do it, there's no right or wrong. But listen to the people that know. Listen to them talk about the business. Listen to them predicting the changes and telling you the changes that are going on. And then look at your data, your trends, and set your business up in a targeted way that makes the most sense. Don't spin your wheels for nothing. Don't waste your time doing things that you're not going to be able to win. Don't go up against things that there's no chance. And I'm not trying to say you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's not what I'm trying to say. Figure out what you're freaking good at and let that build your base. Then if you decide, man, I sure would love to do promo, network promo, then go coach. If you're doing well everywhere else and you've got a good base of money coming in, then go coach in that and see what you're told by your coach. Man, I sure wish I could do radio imaging. I do too. I love doing radio imaging. It's tough. Tough. Go coach. See what your coach tells you. Get a good coach. Do one session and just say, what do you think? And they can tell you pretty quickly, I don't know, this may not be for you. Or go to a workshop. I learned in a workshop I couldn't do something. And let me close by saying these 3 things. Stop spinning your wheels. Stop wasting time bitching about what ain't working and focus on what is and grow that part of your business. And the data never lies. See you next time.
This has been The VO Life with Troy Holden on Spotify, Apple, Google, and more.